You're watching Gearz.
Hey, welcome to Gearz. You know, every once in a while, we get a chance to head out on the road and see what kind of projects that you guys have going on out there in Gearz Nation. And it's a great time, hanging out, talking about cars, and just seeing what you're into. And sometimes, we're even able to help out a little bit.
All across America, in thousands of garages, carports, and backyards, there sits a project that has become hindered, stalled, or halted by the lack of time, money, or expertise by the owner. Sometimes the project is so lopsided that the owner just needs to sell it and start over. Other times, all it needs is a kickstart to get it moving in the right direction again. That's where we come in. Gearz on the Road is brought to you by Cornwell Tools, the choice of professionals.
Now, when we first saw Braden's project, it caught our eye for a few reasons. Number one, it's an old beat-up Chevy 4x4, which is always cool. Number two, he's only 15 years old. And number three, his dad has a similar project truck, so we had to check it out. When we showed up, we found Braden doing his chores and taking care of the horses, which is one of the ways that he earns some spending money to work on his projects. And speaking of projects, there are a bunch of them lying around here. Oh, I love that little bike, man.
Yeah, that's the motor that I got for my other one.
You took the engine off this?
Yeah.
What's this? It's like, whoa, I can't quite get the lights off. Oh. Do some work on this?
Yeah, I'm about to. I want to sandblast it because where they painted over it, they just scraped it down and not all the way. I want to go all the way with it.
And as we looked at the cut-up mini bikes and go-karts and lawn tractors and other stuff, it reminded me a lot of some of my first projects. Yeah, this was a place full of all kinds of cool gearhead stuff. That's hilarious.
I like to be able to take something apart and be able to put it back together and watch it work. That's what I like to do.
Braden is okay at school, but he's better outside with his hands, and he loves it. That's his passion.
One of the most unique projects was the mountain bike, which was now powered by an old chainsaw engine, using some scrap metal, some leftover chain, and a skateboard wheel as a tensioner.
I love it.
This is backyard engineering at its finest. That's awesome. It's 350. But once we started looking at the big projects, now you're going to do all the body work? It was easy to see where Braden got his passion for trucks. How did he get into cars?
Following me around.
Yeah.
He never left my side. Always right behind me, next to me, in front of me. We do everything together.
The first thing I remember working on was my dad's Chevy out there, 78 K10.
Now, what's your wife's take on all this car stuff?
She deals with it.
Now, is she a car girl?
No.
I'm interested in listening to what they're doing,
Yeah.
and I like to see the outcome, and I don't mind standing around watching, but that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
I like to see them doing accomplishments and being proud of what they're doing.
Yeah. So it's not surprising that Braden has a Chevy 4x4 truck to work on, just like his dad does. Okay, tell me what you're going to do to this.
I'd like to go 8 inches of lift with 38s.
Okay.
I want to get a daily driver to school and back.
Daily driver, 8 inches of lift on 38s? You do know there's bumper laws
Yeah.
in Tennessee. Have you checked them?
No.
They even both have their own personal shop space to work in. Of course, Dad's is a lot bigger. What kind of tools you got?
Craftsman, this right here is a mess. Just scattered all in there, but I got my wrenches up there. And
That's all you got?
sets. Yes, sir.
We don't have a lot of tools, do you? You're doing a lot with just a few tools. And when we saw Braden's tight working space and his limited tools, we knew there was a way that we could help him out. It's your 350 block. So, by pretending we were going to help rebuild his dad's engine, no, that looks good, we were able to unload a brand new toolbox full of tools and then give him to a very shocked and surprised gearhead to help get him started down the road toward a career as a mechanic and a fabricator. We're going to help you out. We're going to give you a set of tools to help you out because we want to invest in you just like you guys want to invest in him. Can't send you to school, but we can give you the tools to get there. So this is for you. Now, Dad, if you want to use these, you got to ask him. But let me show you what you got. Up on top, a bunch of air tools. Now, this is all your ratchets. You got 1/4 inch, you got 3/8 drive. Some of this is 1/2 inch drive. Screwdrivers, some trim pullers, just an electrical tester. Just some of your basic stuff. Wasn't sure what you had, but this should augment what you've got, and hopefully it'll give you some stuff that you don't have. So you're going to be dipping into these tools a little bit?
Yes, sir.
You're going to be reaching in the box, huh?
Yes, sir. And I will have a key.
And thank you so much for taking your time to spend with Braden.
Say thanks for raising him like that, and thanks for being gearhead yourselves. There's a lot of people that don't mess with cars anymore.
I'm proud of him. He's not an athlete, but he's a mechanic.
Yeah.
And that's something to be proud of.
And with that, our job was done, and it was time to head off down the road in search of our next project. I love this job. Welcome back to Gearz, where we are back in the shop and working on our Cheetah project. Now at this point, it doesn't look like much. Basically a body and a chassis. But that's one of the good things about working on a fiberglass bodied car. You can lift the body off and go to work on the chassis without having to crawl all over everything. Now keep in mind, when you're building a vehicle like this from the ground up, every decision you make affects another decision. In other words, the steering column is going to affect the dash. The wiring harness is going to affect the air conditioning unit. Where you put the battery is going to be a huge deal. How you run your lines is going to affect where you put the air conditioning unit. So you can see there's a lot of planning that goes into something like this, and that's what we're into right now. So let's get back to it. All right, for air conditioning, we went to Vintage Air and got what they call the Mini Gen 2 unit. Now look at this. That looks like that's just a heater, but don't let the small size fool you. That's actually a heater, an air conditioner, and a defroster all in one tiny compact unit, making this perfect for a tight street rod or a vehicle that doesn't have a whole lot of room. Of course, it comes with all the hoses and the hookups in the bracket to help you mount this thing into a vehicle. Now, of course, Vintage Air has a bunch of other accessories like different vents. They also have inline bulkheads, square bulkheads. If you want a whole kit, they've got a bulkhead and hose kit. So if you're going to put air conditioning in a car, Vintage Air can help you do it. Now, as far as a wiring harness, we went to Painless Performance and got one of these universal street rod setups. This one is called the Micro Remote Harness because look how small that fuse box is. Yeah, that's the point of this. That will mount anywhere and not take up hardly any room, which makes it perfect, once again, for a very tight street rod. But it also has the circuits to handle air conditioning, stereo, any accessories that you want to put in there. Now look at this. All the Painless systems have color-coded wiring, and every wire is marked all the way to the end exactly where it's supposed to go. So you really can't mess one of these up unless you're really not paying attention when you put it in. All right, we come to the fun part now, putting this stuff in the car. Okay, mounting an air conditioning unit takes a little bit of planning because you need to make sure you're going to have enough room to clear the dash. You need to make sure you've got enough room for your defroster outlets and your floor outlets. You also need to be considering where you're going to run your hoses, either through the firewall or out the side or wherever. So the best thing to do is just kind of mock it in place first and then get your seats and dash in so you can see what you got. Now, the Cheetah Evolution cars come set up for Kirky racing seats. So we shipped a pair of these off to Jason's Custom Trim and had him stitch up some really cool distressed leather looking upholstery for these seats. Notice he even put the pleats in for a really cool old school look and completely upholstered them all the way around, even into the seatbelt holes. Also, we shipped it off to Cal Sells Embroidery, had him do the Gearz logo in them. Now, we can't have cool seats and not the rest of the interior, so we also shipped off the dash. Jason did the upholstery on that, left plenty of material on the ends so we can fit this in the car how we need to. And Cal also did the running Cheetah on there. So let's get this in the car, see what we got. Okay, with everything sitting in place, we can get a pretty good idea of what's fitting and what needs to move a little bit. Fortunately, our vintage air unit has plenty of room up here underneath, so that's good. And we've just finished laying out where our vents for our defroster is going to go. Now, as far as our air conditioning vents on the passenger side, it would be nice if we could use one of these drop brackets. Unfortunately, passengers' legs are going to hit that. So we're going to have to mount a vent up here in the dash. Now, as far as the center, we'll just build a drop bracket, put a vent here and a vent there, one for driver, one for passenger. And then over there on the driver's side, we'll just stick a round vent on the other side of the steering column. Now, as far as the wiring harness goes, we're kind of limited on space in here where we can mount that fuse box. Fortunately, there is an access panel over here on the firewall that we can mount the fuse box behind. Now, since we're laying out the dash, there's one more thing that we have to add to this mix, the gauges. We got those right over here. Now, since this car is definitely a blend between classic and modern, we went to Classic Instruments and got a 6-piece gauge set of what they call their American Tradition gauges. Now look at these. These are just cool looking gauges. From the pointers to the little wings in there, to the beveled glass, to the chrome bezels. I mean, this is classic hot rod gauge. But notice that the speedometer goes to 200 miles an hour, the tach goes to 10,000 RPM, and all the sending units are for an LS engine right down to the speedometer interface for a computer-controlled vehicle. This is a great blend of modern performance with a classic look. Now, I'm not quite sure we're going to take that car to 200 miles an hour, but at least the speedometer will handle it. Hey, we're back and laying out 1,000 different things on our Cheetah project, from the seats to the dash to the wiring to the air conditioning, etc., etc. Now that we've got everything set in place, we're going to put the body back on here and see what we got. Now, the original Cheetahs used a lot of different taillights, but the Cheetah Evolution car is designed to fit mid-year Corvette lights. They got a special pocket there so they suck right in there and look really good. So for Corvette taillights, we went to Eckler's and got a set of these complete taillight assemblies. It's the housing, it's the lens, and it's the socket. And this is restoration level stuff, so you know it's going to last a long time. But instead of using just the regular bulb, we're going to step up to these LED bulbs that are built right into a lens and plug right in place of the stock bulb. Of course, it comes with the flasher that you need for the LED lights. That way we're going to have a much brighter light back here so nobody's going to rear end us. Now, even though the body is made for these style lights, be prepared to do a little bit of tweaking to make them fit perfect. You know, there's a lot of cars out there these days that are running some sort of side pipe. And the biggest problem that people have with side pipes is that they're just too loud. So people end up not driving their cars, and that's a bad thing. Fortunately, there's a company called Car Chemistry that can help you out. Check this out. Now, Car Chemistry builds all kinds of mufflers and baffles that go inside of a side pipe to quiet it down. For example, see this one with the hourglass shape? It quiets down the most, slides right into the side pipe. Now, if you want a lot more sound, just something to take the edge off, they've got this 4-disc insert. Then, of course, they can build you complete baffles with the fiberglass packing. It's just like a big glass pack. Of course, it just slides in the pipe, too. Now, I know some of you are thinking, man, I've seen this kind of stuff before. This is nothing new. You haven't seen it like this. Check this out. Car Chemistry has all kinds of discs and packing that you can add to the inserts to quiet it down even more, so you can literally dial in your flow and the amount of sound that you're going to get. No one else offers that. So we're going to start with something in the middle and work our way out from there.
Tool Tech. Brought to you by Cornwell Tools, the choice of professionals.
You know, if you're working on a project, you know how important it is to have the proper tools. You can't do the work without them. But if your project is unorganized, having all the tools in the world aren't going to help you get it done. And the problem is a lot of people don't know what kind of tools are out there to help them plan and organize a project. So what do? Well, we fill out a bunch of tablets and try to keep track of what we're doing. Pretty soon we got tablets strewn all over the place. Then of course we got a scrapbook here full of a bunch of pictures, and we try to remember and figure out what we did. And pretty soon we have a big, confusing mess. And people have been asking for years, how do you plan and organize a project to keep it moving forward on some sort of budget? And you use a simple tool, a project planning book. The planning book will allow you to go through every area of a project in great detail, from engine to paint to interior to suspension to whatever, and lay out the parts that you want as well as the cost. Then you can total it up and come up with a budget that you can live with by adding or subtracting what you need from what you think you need. It also lets you compare the costs of things like building your own engine or using a crate engine, doing your own work or hiring somebody to do it. There's even a section allowing for what kind of tools you think you'll need and what kind of time frame you expect to complete the project in. This all helps in setting realistic goals and budgets. And you can forget about having to keep a scrapbook, because there's even places in the book to put pictures to document the project. Another cool thing about the book is it's interactive, so it changes as your project changes. For example, say you want to put a different engine in your project than you originally planned. All you got to do is plug it into the book, and you'll be able to tell exactly what that's going to cost. And it will help you eliminate some of the surprises that come up when you try to do stuff off the cuff. Now, once you finish the project, the book then becomes a complete log and scrapbook of everything that you've done to it, so you can show it to people. And if you don't want your wife to know how much you spent for some of those parts, you just leave the totals blank. So, if you've got a project, or if you're even thinking about a project, you gotta plan it right. And the best way to do that is with a project planning book. It really will become one of the best tools that you'll have.
Now, quick tip. Brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn.
You know, everybody knows that if you work in a shop, you're gonna get dirty. Fortunately, there's some hand cleaners out there to help take care of that. But if that's all you're using that for, well, you're missing out, because hand cleaners will clean a lot more than just your hands. Check it out. You got a bunch of nasty spark plug wires or hoses? A fast orange wipe will clean them in seconds. You got dirty, grimy white walls? Forget that fancy white wall cleaner and reach for some hand cleaner with pumice. You'll be shocked at how fast the goop comes off. You got stubborn grease on the handles of your tools? Not anymore. So the next time you're dealing with garage level grit and grease and grime on your hands, on your clothes, on your tools, whatever, your best solution might just be some fast orange hand cleaner. Now, if you'd like to learn more tips to make your life easier in the shop, check out the tips page on the website.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Woodward Fabrication, selling quality metalworking equipment since 1966.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Jeff and Gordon Ferguson from Canby, Minnesota. And they're a father and son duo that's been working on cars together for a long time. And they wanted to do something with a 51 Chevy, 1-ton flatbed truck that they'd pulled out of a field, chased all the rats and skunks out of. So the first thing they did was pick up a 98 C5 Corvette chassis, and start grafting the two together. Now, the original plan, they said, was to build a rat rod. But the more they worked on it, the nicer it got. Take a look at this. The first thing they did is build a custom frame for the Corvette suspension, and at the same time, they channeled the cab, cut 6 inches off the front fenders, and an original bed was located and sliced down to 4 feet for a super short look in the rear. The interior is a nice blend of stock and aftermarket gauges and air conditioning, And the Corvette LS1 gets this thing down the road really quick. Now, the truck is not completely finished, but it is up and driving. And the guys say they're having so much fun with it the way it is, they might not finish it. I can definitely understand that. There's something magic about driving something that's a little on the rough side. But it is a cool project. And to recognize that, we hooked up with our buddies at Woodward Fab. We're going to give you one of these tubing benders. Now, this will allow you to bend different diameters of round tubing and a couple different diameters of square tubing. I'm sure you could have used that on this project. Also, we're going to hook you up with one of our new project planning books so you can keep an accurate log of everything you've done to that project and everything you will do to it. Also, we're going to give you one of our brand new Gearz t-shirts so you can get out there and get it nice and dirty. Matter of fact, we're going to give one to your dad too. Matter of fact, go back to that picture. We got to give one to the little guy. Now, the rest of you, if you want to get in on this, want to get your vehicle featured on the show, you got to go to the website, go to Gearz Nation, and submit a profile of your project. We don't care if it's done, we don't care how much money you spend on it. It just needs to be something that you're working on. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that social media stuff, because we always have something cool going on there. All right, obviously I've got a lot to do here. I know you've got something to work on, whether it's a car, or a model, or a radio control, whatever. Now that the show's over, quit watching TV, get out there and work on something. We'll see you next time.